Sounded good.
Spinny.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What was it?
59.
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Ooh.
That's my really low one.
Kept spin basically the same. That was actually 53.
Wow.
And carried
That's incredible.
209.
209. That's
209.
nice.
So there was some intriguing things there.
All right, Victor, we're going to do a little golf ball testing.
Okay.
I hear that, well, I'll ask you, are you a tinkerer?
I like to mess around a little bit.
Yeah? You like
See
to do
what
some
happens.
testing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 40 here. We're going to do some golf ball testing. So I guess the first question I'd ask is, what part of your game do you notice golf ball performance the most?
I kind of like to see full swings and kind of half-speed shots, but on the longer shots.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys maybe like to talk about how the cover or the ball feels around the greens and how it spins, all that stuff. But I really see the biggest difference in the full speed, especially driver, 5-iron, but even like wedges and 9-irons and 7-irons,
Yeah.
just the fuller shots.
And when you say fuller, you mean full swing, but then also trying to shape and work
Shape
and
it,
take
yeah.
speeds off at times. And yeah.
Definitely think it's very important to see the spin when you're taking speed off, because obviously the spin is going to drop.
That's right.
And then it's a question of, is it too much or
Still
too
not,
little?
not too little, right, yes.
Well, I don't know if this is a fair question, but it feels like you've got spin, we've got feel. What's another characteristic of a golf ball that you throw out there?
Trajectory, flight.
Yep.
Flight.
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with spin. They obviously work together. They're not independent of each other, but it is another, you could take two golf balls with the exact same launch conditions and have them fly very differently. So dimple patterns, aerodynamics is the other piece we speak to a lot.
All right, why don't we hit a few?
All right, let's do it. Where do we want to start?
40, what do you think?
Well, anytime we're doing ball testing, you always want to fit the golf ball to the irons and the wedges. So we like to hit a couple irons, see how it works, and then we look at a club like driver and see how that ball matches up with the driver. So, so a short iron, we could start with like an 8-iron even.
Perfect.
Is a good place to start. So we've got 3 different golf balls to have you try, 3 different flight spin characteristics, and we'll see what you think of them.
Victor, as a baseline, would you consider yourself a high ball hitter naturally?
I do tend to hit it pretty high.
Okay.
Yeah. As a standard shot, yeah, probably slightly higher than average.
Okay.
But I do also like to, if I'm in between shots or try to hit a fairway finder, I like to hit it pretty low.
Yeah.
So, but standard pretty high.
And I was talking to a couple other guys, they that are fit into X, they like the fact that they can get that height if they need it, but they honestly, like, they take it off most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like an extra gear that they have. Is that something that you think about too? Like,
I mean, I normally play the Pro V1.
Yeah.
So, but I've been messing a little bit with the Pro V1x, and it definitely adds a little bit more launch. Total height is a little higher, and it adds more spin. So it's definitely a different flight.
So we are in some tinkering mode right now.
A little bit.
Exploring the space.
Yeah, I would say I started tinkering with it because I wasn't too happy with my golf swing and kind of had to make some temporary changes.
Yeah.
Because the X gave me a little bit more spin. But we'll see kind of which ball is optimal when I'm in the spot where I want it to be with my golf swing.
Okay. So this is the V. So this is the ball you're playing right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yes. So we'll see here. Yeah. First swing, a little thin on the face.
Okay.
But went straight.
Yep.
40. How many swings you think, allowing for mishits like that?
Yeah.
How many do you think I guess a pro and an amateur do you need to be like, okay, that's a good data set, I guess?
Yeah, for a pro you need, I'd like to get at least 3. If we can get a 4th shot, that's great.
Okay.
Can you get away with 2? Sure. 3 to 4 shots with each club and ball, I think, is a good number, though. Inevitably, you're going to have a shot that maybe he didn't completely flush.
Yeah.
That was a better
while it
shot.
can tell you some things, you want to be careful not to put too much stock into a shot that he didn't quite hit solid.
Yeah.
So you just want to make sure you have a good representation.
And Victor, how many, as you consider switching balls, how long would you want to give yourself? Is it would you switch week to week coming off? Or how much testing do you want to do to feel confident?
Ideally not.
Yeah.
Ideally you just want to play the same ball and you know exactly what it's doing and you can manipulate it in the ways that you want it to. Yeah. But there are some places where, for example, at Wells Fargo earlier this year, the greens were really, really firm, and I didn't have enough spin with my irons, so I kind of had to make a change there to even have a chance to hold the greens. But then what I found is that it spins a little too much with a driver.
Okay.
So I'm giving up a little bit of distance off the tee to have the opportunity to stop it on the greens. So it's not ideal, but that week it made sense to do that. So that's why like some more tinkering is probably still warranted.
And that plays right into our philosophy where, again, you're fitting the golf ball to the irons and the scoring clubs. Once you've determined the ones that gives you appropriate spin, feels good, flies in the right window, then you find the driver spec to match up to that golf ball. So to just change a golf ball and expect all 14 clubs to perform exactly the way you want them is, you got to be careful there. So anytime you make a ball change, you got to say, okay, how is this going to affect other clubs, other types of shots that I like to hit around?
100%.
So you feel like now you're generating more spin, swings come around. So
Slightly more, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're on the right track. Hit one more here.
Yep. Solid strike there.
Yeah. Hair on the toe on that one, but still a decent shot.
Okay.
Were you able to adjust to the firmness of the X versus the V quickly? Or is that a factor for you?
In terms of feel?
Yeah, like I feel like the X feels like I've said it before, like a skull, like a bone.
Yeah. Oh,
the click,
Definitely noticed a little bit of difference around the greens, but I didn't really think about it too much, to be honest.
And we get some players who are very feel sensitive and are particular, and then there's some guys who get used to it very quickly. So, Yep.
And do you feel like that's a high ball for you right there?
Well, we're a little bit elevated here.
Yeah.
That's launching pretty standard, probably a hair higher than, say, most guys, but.
I'm gonna get one more with it real quick.
Yep.
So speak to how that ball felt and flew to your eye, forgetting what these numbers may say.
Yeah. There was one outlier that definitely came off pretty hot.
Yeah.
But the other ones I thought flew pretty nice in the air.
Yep.
Had about the peak height that I anticipated.
Yep.
Even though we were into quite a bit of a nice breeze here, it's still, like the ball was definitely rising in the wind, but it wasn't getting hurt really badly by the wind. Like it's still flighting nice through it.
Yeah.
So
good.
I like that flight.
Good. All right, we're gonna go to X next.
One of the X. Okay. Yeah. So we're expecting a higher flight here.
Yeah.
More
and
spin.
A little bit more spin.
Yeah.
So if there's no wind, you probably couldn't tell that big of a difference. But in this wind, it's going to be exacerbated.
In this wind, this is a great wind to test in because it's going to show those differences more so. When you're hitting on a tailwind, everything just gets flattened out, pushed down, and everything starts to look similar.
Yep.
So anytime you can hit it into a headwind is really good.
Sounded good. Victor, what's a stock 8-iron for you?
Probably hit it about, especially now in the summer when the ball's going far, probably 175 yards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that in the
just short of it? Yeah.
Well, we're into some wind, but if we put it on normalization and we do a prediction, we get 65-ish.
Okay. Yeah. Hit that as slightly thin, and then obviously the added spin from the X is going to make it go a hair shorter.
Yep.
Okay.
And he had been on with the Pro Vs on those first few shots, had been averaging kind of high 76, 7,700 spin. That first shot there was at 81.
So is it fair for me to say that the Pro V would drive through the wind better than the X, or is it just swing dependent?
It's always player dependent, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Pro V1 spins a little bit less, flight's a little bit lower than X, so into a wind, yes, Pro V1 could go through even a little better.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Pro V1s were 7,600, and that first shot was 81.
That first shot was 81.
I hit that last one slightly thin, so that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's definitely higher.
Yeah, that I mean noticeably higher to my untrained eye.
Yeah.
say you're feeling great about your swing.
Yeah.
Would you consider switching balls dependent on the tournament? Like if you're going to go play the Open and you know it's going to blow, the forecast is telling you it's going to be blowing.
I mean,
or is that too quick of a change to make?
Ideally, I'd like to have my ball flight dialed in so that if it's blowing, I can still play with that. If it's not blowing and the greens are firm, I can still play with that. The same ball. The golf ball is, at least to me, not something that I want to mess around with too much.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Because then, like you said, you got to change the other clubs too.
That's right. It could then lead to other clubs. So you have to be careful doing it. Guys do it.
Yeah.
They don't do it as much as you might think, though.
What were the numbers on that last one?
So on that last one, again, we see 8,200 spin. We did see a little more speed. Told us she caught it a little more solid.
Yeah.
Launch was at 16.7. And then again, the difference in the peak height.
Yeah.
So you were just a shade under 110 with the V. That one was 114, almost 115.
Yep.
So again, a little more spin, a little higher traj. So we'll hit a couple more, and then the question becomes is, how does that flight look to him in the air?
Yeah.
It's a nice shot.
Yeah.
It's probably going to spin a hair less than the last shot. Probably 8,000.
You would think, yeah, with the little shot shape there. Well, actually, fooled us both at 84.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
That's
really
pretty
spinning.
surprising.
The peak height was down
Lower,
a little bit.
yeah.
Yep. So that was it because of the shape. But no, spin was, if anything, a fraction higher.
Interesting. That was caught nice.
I mean, it is noticeable. Consistently higher ball flight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then that one there may have even really, that one, the spin did jump up a little bit. So that
Jump
one,
up?
that one
88.
shot up to 88.
No way.
So now we start to wonder, okay,
Yeah.
did we start to go a little bit too much?
Yeah, wow.
Maybe.
Can't remember the last time I've been 88.
That's right.
You kind of want to multiply the club number by 1,000 to be in like the spin zone you want to be in. Is that
It's like
Sure,
a
yeah.
is that amateur?
hand
No,
rule.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. There are guys who use that and say, okay, my 7-iron, I should spin around 7,000. My 8-iron around 8,000, and it's a good frame of reference.
Sure.
It's not as clean as 1,000 per,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're,
Just
you know,
to
the
try and
amateur
get
like
you
me is looking for.
somewhere. Well,
Because there's a lot of numbers on this screen,
Yeah,
right?
it
So
is.
it's
There is
fun to
a
watch
lot
you
of
guys
numbers
like you
and-
know what you're looking for, but
wanna
you
be
just
safe.
kind of need a benchmark.
It
sometimes.
helps you be in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But for, I'd say, elite players,
Yeah.
you know, the higher you hit it, you can get away with less spin.
Yeah.
And then the lower you hit it, now you actually do need some spin to keep the ball up in the air.
Yeah.
So you need and it depends on what kind of loft your 7-iron is.
and the average player, you got to be careful with giving him 8,000-9,000 spin, because all that's really going to do is cost him distance.
Shorter, yeah.
And if he's got any sort of side spin, it's just going to magnify that. So, yeah, you have to be careful with giving them too much spin.
Yep.
All right.
This is a
Left dash.
left dash.
Yep. So this is a third golf ball.
So what's the difference with the X Left Dash and the Pro V1 Left Dash?
The Pro V1 Left Dot.
Oh, left dot.
Left
yeah.
dot, yes.
Left dot.
Yes. So
Oh, okay.
X Dash is going to be a firmer golf ball. It's a higher compression ball. It actually will spin a little bit less than the Left Dot V.
A little bit less.
A little bit less, yeah. The Dash is going to be our lowest spinning tour played golf ball.
Even though it's in the X version. Okay.
Correct.
Interesting.
So X Dash, when it first came out, was originally intended for just tour, and we found that, hey, there's a lot of other golfers who would benefit with this type of product. And it was intended to be our low spin option on tour.
Yep.
And again, it ended up working really well for a lot of other players, so we started to make it more available to
Yep.
them. So,
Okay.
But it flies a little higher?
But it does kind of go against what we've done with our other products. You know, X generally being the
Higher
higher
spinning,
spinning ball versus Pro V, but the Dash is kind of a unique ball.
Yeah.
And again, it flies high like an X,
Yeah.
but it's our lowest. It will have the lowest spin.
Okay. Okay.
So-
We'll check it out.
Let's see what it does.
Ooh. Caught that a little off the toe and slightly open face, but immediately saw the launch just popping straight up in the air.
And anytime you lower spin, launch and spin go hand in hand.
Yep.
You spin it less, launch angle oftentimes goes up.
fine shot.
Yeah, that's nice.
Flew further.
Yeah, that was 82. The height
Wow,
was
that's actually
was
pretty
down.
spinny for me. Normally I'm a low spinning guy, so.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, it's like intuitively maybe it's tricking me a little bit. You telling me that, okay, this is a low spinning ball, and then over the ball, you know, I'm swinging it slightly differently, trying to put some more spin on it.
It's the one thing when you're working with great players is if
Yeah.
you give them too much information, they'll make adjustments
Sure.
consciously, subconsciously, based on what you tell them. So
That's definitely higher.
this might actually be an instance where I would go back to the first ball and just have them hit it
And see what happens.
and just see,
Yeah.
you know, hit it.
Because that last shot, I was hit nice. It was a little higher, but it definitely
Yep.
seemed like it was spinning a
It
decent
had
amount.
plenty of spin, 83.
Wow.
So it had plenty of spin.
Wow.
So maybe just getting a little more warmed up.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty high.
Is that left dash still?
No, that was, I
was
went back
regular.
to the first V that he hit. Yeah.
Is that in the 8s too?
That was in the 8s as well.
Nice.
So that was 84.
Okay.
So yes.
That was 84?
That was 84.
What's
yes.
going on, 40?
That's right.
Haven't been like this
You're a
on any
spin
tour range
machine.
this
You're
year.
a spin machine. Who knew? Let's move to a longer club.
Yep,
So let's go to like a 5-iron.
perfect.
Ready to hit some 5s?
So, all right, Victor, you got 5-iron. What's your stock number with 5-iron?
Well, I've been on the lower spinning side so far this year, and it's kind of been below 5,000,
Okay.
like kind of 4,700.
Yeah.
And that, like, I don't have a problem getting the ball up in the air,
Yeah.
so I can kind of get away with it, but I'd like to have it over 5,000, like kind of spinning 52.
Yeah.
Even 54 I'd be happy with. And then I can really feel comfortable kind of launching it lower and even taking off speeds.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've noticed is when I've been on the lower spinning side, I have a hard time hitting off-speed shots.
Yeah.
Because when the greens get firm and I try to off-speed it, now it spins less and the
Can't
ball
hold it.
goes almost just as far, and then when it lands on the green, it bounces and it's over the green. Whereas if I'm spinning it too much, I can always make that work.
Yeah.
I can always just take an extra club and just, you know, it just spins a little bit more, but the ball stops where it lands.
Yeah.
Whereas when it doesn't spin enough, it's like, you gotta do too much math in your head.
I mean, this is so eye-opening for me. You know, I asked, like, what's the number? You go immediately to spin. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like you guys are
I
working
was
on,
thinking carry when
I
you
was
asked
thinking
that
carry too.
question.
Oh, okay,
but
how far he
but I
goes,
think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
indicative of, like, that's
Yeah.
honestly what matters
pays,
more.
what he looks for more so
Yeah.
than, right. He knows if he gets that right spin number, that carry number will
Yeah,
be there.
it'll figure
Exactly,
itself out.
yeah. Because when I'm spinning at 4,700, like, and it's been hot, I've been hitting 5-irons that goes 225.
Yeah.
And that's a little too far, you know?
Kind of
'cause
a
if-
gapping issue.
Yeah, because if I absolutely stripe it, it's going to go 225. But then if I mishit it, that ball speed is going to make it go so much
209
shorter.
Or
Yeah.
205 even. Or
Exactly.
something,
Whereas if the spin is consistently a little bit higher, now my mishits are not going to be hurt that much because the gapping is a lot tighter.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see because the 8-iron spun a lot more than it has been recently. So this will be interesting to see if it follows with a 5-iron.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Based off the 8-iron, you'd almost think you'd see 5,000 right
Yeah.
here. But let's see.
Yeah, we'll
And
see.
we've got
See,
this
we
is
don't
a V.
assume. So this is Pro V to start, correct? Yep. We'll keep the order.
It's pretty high.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good shot.
Yep, solid.
So we're looking for what, 5,000 is kind of our.
Wouldn't surprise me if that was a little lower spin, but it's kind
Fooled
of.
us all.
Yeah.
Spinning.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What was it?
59.
Holy crap!
Oh yeah.
Plot twist. We might just change to the left dash this week, 40.
Total.
Ooh.
I love
We'll talk
being
tomo-
here, watching
we'll
you
talk
find
tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. That's very interesting. I don't want to like break the rhythm here, but I kind of want to hit a really flighted one
Let's
and
see it.
see what that spins.
Let's see it.
Because normally when I do that, the spin will come down.
Yep.
But if it's still in the 5,000s, I'll be very pleased with that. That's a pure flight. So if it's windy, I'll be hitting that type of flight
That's
all
the
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
It Came off just as fast, 53.
53?
Almost
Okay, that's
54.
money.
Yeah.
That's money.
And 211 on the carry, and
Perfect.
the 95 on the peak height. Real
Perfect.
good numbers on a flighted shot. Let's see one more. Let's go stock again.
Stuck?
Yep.
Pull that a hair.
Okay, yep.
So we would expect lower spin there.
You would on a pull, yep. I agree.
But it still flew nice in the air, so.
Yep, sure did. Yeah, that was at 5,000, so even on the pull, you still kept the
Wow.
spin. 216 carry, so it went 5 yards further,
Yeah.
but it wasn't that 10, 15 yards
No,
further.
so that's within the dispersion that like you would be happy with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's where you like to live these
Yep,
days.
yep.
All right, let's try X.
Yeah, that was a nice shot, a little cut up
Sounded
against
great.
the wind.
Yeah,
Definitely higher.
yeah.
There's gonna be some spin on that ball.
54.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
210 on the carry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was a hair thin on the face, and it still went really high. So I'm guessing the spin was high.
56.
Wow.
Almost 57.
Not bad.
Yeah. Again, 210 carry.
Yeah.
That's compressed.
And those last couple were just stock, right?
Pretty stock, yeah.
Give me that flighted one with the X.
Yep.
It worked really well with the V. Let's see if it does as well with the X. That was 58 again on the
Yep.
spin. So
So before you hit this, it should, right? Because this is the higher spinning ball, so you should be able to hit the off speed. Like you said,
Yes.
on paper, you would think
paper,
that
right?
should be,
Yeah.
he should be able to, yes.
Conversely, though, it does spin more and have a little slightly higher launch angle. So I'm gonna have to work harder to keep the ball lower.
Yeah.
Keep it
okay.
at the same height,
Yeah.
yeah.
But off-speed shots, it's what I've noticed way easier for me to do with the X.
Yeah, I got you.
And again, you could see even
Yeah.
that flighted versus the flighted on the V, that still wanted to kind of get
Yes,
up a
it did.
little
Wanted
bit.
to climb.
Yep.
There's gonna be some spin on that ball.
54, but again, you kept it down in that 92 height, peak height,
Yeah.
versus that 110,
Yep.
115. So between those two balls, between 5 and 8 iron, do you walk away thinking one is much better than the other, or they're pretty close?
Well, so this is kind of the tricky part with this game. It's like I've been on this less spinny side,
Yeah.
so I've preferred the X in my irons recently.
Okay.
Just in my driver, it's been spinning too much. But now, even the Pro V1, which I normally have played my whole life, is spinning pretty perfectly right now.
Yeah.
So I would be more,
inclined to-
to play that ball. I'm pretty happy with that right now. Yeah.
The safer of the two right now,
Yes.
just because again you know it a little bit more.
Yeah. And it's hitting the numbers that I
That's right.
wanted to hit.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Dash.
Yeah, dash. So this is the low spin
This is
Yep.
a lower spin. Yep.
with the low spin man.
With the low spin, man. That's right.
And it almost spun more with the 8, I guess.
I know.
Doing
I
a
know,
negative
that's
to make
fine.
a
And it
positive.
didn't. And it didn't knock off as much as I thought it was going to. So.
Fooling everyone around here.
That looks great.
That was a hair thin on the face.
Okay.
A pretty good shot.
Still got it up in the air decently though. Speed didn't really change too much, and
54.
54 just
Wow.
211. Well, and this does speak to, again, at their level, things can change.
Yeah.
Whether it's, a slight swing adjustment or a change to a club or two, and
No, you can't isolate the variables. That's
Yeah.
the amazing part. Is that, do you have a day during the week that you will test this stuff? Because I could feel like it could cloud you a little bit if you're doing this on a
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah, you don't want to
oh yeah, Wednesday.
get too in the weeds, you know? I think I like to just get the TrackMan out and just see where I'm at.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I know if I'm going out there on the course and the ball is coming out hot and the ball is going really far.
Yeah.
I know personally that obviously if it's hot, that equates to some of it or accounts to some of it, but the ball's coming out too hot and not stopping on the greens, I know the spin is low.
Yeah.
And then I come back out here and kind of
Yeah.
and just double check it. But unless, like, if we're talking 200 RPMs,
Yeah.
just forget about it. Like, it's not that
That's
it's
swing
not
to
that
swing
important.
variance.
Yeah.
That's right. You're plus or minus a little anyways.
Yeah.
So.
And like, as long as it's within that range,
Yeah.
whatever your range is, what do you want it to be, then that's fine. You go out and play golf.
How much time do you need on the course to see, like that Quail Hollow decision, for
Yeah.
instance? Like, did you stuck with that for the whole week? It worked.
Yes. Yeah.
But like, I don't know, any feel on like Thursday to be like, I want to go back to the Pro V1? Like,
Yeah, because it's like I'll be hitting a couple of nice iron shots that holds the green.
yeah.
And then I'm like, man, that driver's spinning too much.
Yeah.
I know.
I want to hit the less spinny ball off the tee and then just switch to the more spinny ball into the greens.
Yeah.
So it's stuck. It's kind of awkward to be in that spot.
Yeah.
We're kind of stuck in between. But so this is why, like, this is pretty fun for me to see, because now like
this is
my normal ball is spinning kind of where I want it to be.
Yeah.
And I know that that's going to be good in the driver as well.
Yeah.
Whereas if I were to go to the X, everything would be spinning too much.
Now you got a lot more on your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now my shoulders are kind of more at ease and relaxed that, okay, now I have a ball that's spinning adequately.
All right. So is this a big thing for you with the Ryder Cup with alt shot?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had some interesting like pairings or some
Yeah.
pairings that we wanted to make happen, but we couldn't because the balls were just too different.
Yeah.
I remember like at Whistling Straits, it was windy that week,
Yeah.
and I was potentially going to play with someone on the team, and we were pumped about it. But then in the practice rounds, we're playing the balls, and he's playing like one of the most spinny balls, and I was playing like a lower spin ball, the Pro V1,
Yeah.
and like especially in the wind, it just becomes accentuated, and like he's seeing the ball launch in a completely different window, and I'm seeing his ball launch in a completely different window. So we just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So that is a huge thing that probably most normal people that watch the Ryder Cup don't really think too much about.
No, not at all. But it's fascinating.
It can make a huge difference. So yeah, and on that first dash ball that he hit, it was a little different. So it still was at 51, but it was less.
Yeah.
Went 215. It did go that
Yeah.
little less spin did make it go a couple of yards further. But let's hit a couple more.
Hair left.
Yeah, definitely flighted it down.
Yeah, so the nice thing is, and flight came down to 89,
Yeah.
but you still kept some spin at 52.
That's
so,
awesome.
And it flew 210 in the air.
Okay, that's actually really cool.
Really good.
There it is.
Ooh, that's my really low one. So that's obviously nice in the wind, but if you have a ball that just doesn't spin enough, it's
Yeah.
not going to hold the green.
Yeah.
And again, brought the height down even more, down to 78, but kept spin basically the same. That was actually 53.
Wow,
And
that's
carried
incredible.
209.
209, that's
209.
nice.
So there was some intriguing things there.
We found it, man.
with that option.
I kind of want to hit one more. I'm going to try
Okay.
hit it really high.
All right, yeah, let's
Just see what
see one last one, and then we'll...
the range is.
Yeah. Executed the assignment.
That one you hit up 124 feet in the air.
Yeah,
Actually had spin at 5,800,
yeah,
and it flew 208.
that's pretty cool.
So it's actually really good how well you were able to hit the high and the low with that, keep spin, and keep a pretty consistent carry number.
That's what's really cool is that I varied the height so much.
Yeah.
But the spin kept being like
Yeah.
very similar from
Yeah.
the lower ones. It still maintained the spin, and on that shot, which was really high, it still
Yeah.
didn't go over. It didn't go to like 6,500.
Correct.
Because now it goes nowhere.
That's right.
Which
Yeah,
is
now you're
kind of
gonna
that's
give up
kind of the name of
distance
the
there.
game.
That's the name of the game.
The
If you-
spin, how consistent
to
can we
be
keep
able to
the spin?
change your trajectories and keep carries basically the same.
Yeah.
And again, talent.
That
wins
gives you a
out
lot of
everything, but-
confidence, though. I bet.
Yeah, that's-
Oh God, now I can hit the off-speed shot.
Yeah, this is sweet because
Huge.
that's the thing when it's spinning low, and I've noticed this especially when the greens get firm. I'm basically having to hit a full swing to every single green,
Yeah.
and you know where a lot of times you're in between numbers.
Yeah.
But if you have enough spin, you can kind of make that 5 or 6 iron go the distance that you want it to go, even though you're in between shots.
Yeah.
But if it's not spinning enough, you're in between 5 and 6. Well, you can't hit the 5 because if you off speed, it's still gone.
Yeah.
So now you're just going to have to hit the 6 iron really hard.
You just have to hit everything at one speed, and that's hard.
Yep.
And that's
So-
not how a lot of guys like to play.
No. So this is awesome.
All right.
Great.
Well, gentlemen, what a pleasure being in the lab with you. That was like fascinating stuff.
great. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Victor.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Great display.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.